All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that's both intriguing and a little unnerving, to be honest. We found a news snippet online that just says, hurricane hack. And honestly, that's all we got.
Yeah, not a lot to go on, is there?
Not exactly, but hey, that's kind of what makes these deep dives fun, right? We gotta piece together the puzzle with whatever clues we can find. So no context, no explanation, just those two words, hurricane hack. What's your first thought when you hear that? I mean, just instinctively.
Honestly, it's kind of interesting how the mind just jumps to these, extremes, right?
Oh,
I'm betting most folks, they hear that phrase and they're picturing some crazy, almost like a Hollywood-level weather control situation.
right, like someone figured out how to steer hurricanes, some secret government program gone rogue or something.
The total chaos. But let's be real for a sec. Could we actually control a hurricane like that? Like, is that even remotely possible with today's tech?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Not really, no. I mean,
Yeah.
we've messed around with weather modification on a small scale, like cloud seeding where they try to squeeze a bit more rain out of the clouds. But a hurricane, that's a whole different beast.
It's like trying to move a mountain by like blowing on it. Right.
Pretty much. The amount of energy in a hurricane is just mind-boggling. We're not there yet.
Okay, so maybe no supervillain weather weapons just yet. But what about a different kind of hack? Something a little more digital. What if this hurricane hack thing, what if it's about a cyber attack, but it's aimed at like emergency response systems during a hurricane?
Now that is scary.
Right, because that doesn't feel like science fiction at all.
No, not at all. And it's because we rely so much on technology these days, especially during emergencies. Remember what happened with that Colonial Pipeline attack last year? Ransomware shut down that whole thing, caused panic, shortages, everything. Now imagine that same scenario, but it's during a hurricane, and instead of fuel, it's communication systems that are knocked out. 911 dispatch, early warning sirens, the works.
So you're saying a well-timed, well-placed cyber attack during a hurricane, it could actually be more damaging than the storm itself.
It's a scary thought, and
Yeah.
honestly, it's not impossible. I mean, we've seen people trying to mess with emergency response systems in other disasters, although on a smaller scale, but the potential for chaos, it's huge. And there's another thing we got to remember here. This isn't just hypothetical. Climate change is making these hurricanes more and more frequent.
And stronger, too.
Exactly, more hurricanes, and we keep relying more and more on technology. It's like we're adding fuel to the fire.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It really is. And that's why we got to be ready, not just for the storm itself, but for these other threats that come along with it. Ones created by humans. Cybersecurity, resilient infrastructure, these aren't just buzzwords, they're essential, especially as this climate keeps changing.
It really makes you think. And here's something for everyone listening to chew on. If you were trying to cause as much chaos as possible during a hurricane, what would you target? What's the most vulnerable thing? It's something to think about, because in today's world, we're all so connected, and sometimes that makes us more vulnerable than we realize. So how can we be better prepared, both individually and as a society? That's something worth considering.